Hey everyone, we are live. Welcome to maybe our first Game Masters Roundtable Week in Review. Myself, DM Bloodworth, Richard Salati, and I am accompanied as of now with Bruce Lombardo. How's it going, Bruce?
Very good. How are you today, Mr.
All right.
Salati? I did not know that was
Uh,
your last name,
yes,
Python.
yeah, that's my true name. So it's for many years I was just using DM Bloodworth, and on Facebook, I'm Edward James Bloodworth, which is actually a character I played freaking like 30 years ago. Kind of a combination of character names cobbled together. And, while I was still with the New York City Department of Education during the Bloomberg era, you really couldn't put out on social media who you were because they were always hunting down teachers and union reps and that kind of thing, just looking for anything that they can go after us for. So I never used my real name, but now that I'm retired, it doesn't matter anymore. Uh, so in case anyone, my real name's Richard. You can call me Richard or DM
Cool.
Bloodworth or whatever.
DM
Um,
Bloodworth always works for me. No offense.
yeah, no problem. Um, and that was the other thing is like, some people are like, oh, you're hiding behind a screen, a fake name and everything. I was like, I'm not really. At least now I don't have to hide, but back then it was probably accurate. Yes, we kind of had to. Um, Hey, Rational Ginger, how's it going? Good to see you. You see, now you caught it, right? Usually you come in and you were like, oh, I missed the beginning. Well, now you caught it right at the beginning. And O'Neill, how's it going? If either of you want to jump in, the invite link is right above. So that was the first one in there. If anyone else wants to jump in, but I'm gonna, lead off with asking uh, asking Bruce, do you have anything to share with your game from like the past week or two?
Eh, last Saturday, the players have been playing this campaign for about 2 years. And if you want to watch it, I don't ever suggest people watch it, although it will give me view hours. And if you need a sleep aid, I can help you there. But we have a game that's been going very well for over 2 years. And I run a Pathfinder game, first edition,
Mm-hmm.
and I do modify it quite a bit. Getting ready to release my first game later this year based on Pathfinder 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
But the characters I've been running right now, they've been going in a campaign world of the Lost Lands, which is a setting by Frog God Games. They've done Slumbering Czar Saga, the Rapanathuk, the Chambers of Baracus, or Endhome, or there's a few different
Mm-hmm.
names for that campaign city. But they've got a very, very, very nice world, and their map that adorns my southern wall
Mm-hmm.
has 50-mile hexes. So the
Wow. All right.
players have, yeah, 50 miles.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of adventure you could put into a nondescript area. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. But they've been slowly getting through it, and I've smushed two adventure paths from Paizo together. The
Mm-hmm.
Ironwood Incursion, which is about the hobgoblins that were using stolen dwarven magical abilities to transport themselves anywhere within the world using obsidian portals. And then the Giant Slayer campaign. And the Giant Slayer campaign is literally just a Pathfinder trying to say, "See, we love we love tradition, like this. This is a G1, 2, and 3. Love it, love it." And they're begging you to play. I get that Full Metal Dragon, I get it, which is why I stayed with first edition.
Yeah.
But my players are alternating between foes in their campaign as I force both of them onto the field in a pincher maneuver to destroy the land the PCs are from, and about maybe 50 or 75 mile square mile area, and the hobgoblins came in with evil druids, and they started to recharge and reinvigorate the land because up till this point, nobody was wanting to live there. You go through there with your wagons, and it's just miles of parched crap like South Texas. It's just salted. Nothing grows there that's worth a crap. And so they might get to a town every once in a while, but the hobgoblins came in and they reinvigorated a lot of the hillsides, and they actually put some vegetation in, and the druids that were working with the hobgoblins have been defeated. And so I give my players domain play, and so they can have some aspect of control over the ground that they're fighting for, and they're really enjoying it. About 2.5 years is what they've done this campaign, and I also splice in the old Blue Book 3.0 modules, like some Citadel, the Forge of Fury. Yeah, that entire AP I'm going to put in there. I'm going to cram in. Ashardalon will be part of this campaign, much to their chagrin.
Yeah. But it's funny that you mentioned evil druids, because that's they've actually been the core antagonist of my 2-year-old or nearly 2-year-old campaign now with AD&D First Edition. And along the way I actually picked up a module from Robert Kuntz that's just called Dark Druids. I mean, you could check it out online.
It's one of the best modules he's ever written. Probably one of the best 3.0 modules ever written. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's
an
awesome,
person that has it.
Yeah, it is an awesome an adventure. It's super super powerful. I mean, as far as what are there, like 3 artifacts in there? It's like
3 artifacts. It's for 12 level players, though. 12 level player characters.
Yeah, 3 artifacts and a demon prince and
and
all kinds of stuff.
Troll Lord Games, don't forget.
Right, and there's the I mean, I just love the the idea of druids being corrupted. Like in my campaign, what had happened was that a druid, it's set in Greyhawk, and a druid had challenged the arch druid of the region for her position in as far as one of the 12 druids in all of the world of Greyhawk. And the druid was defeated, the challenger was defeated, and so dejected from it that the challenger then switched over and became a cleric of Waystreet, which is a neutral evil deity, demigod that Zajic had actually captured and imprisoned for a while. And Waystreet is a god of self-deception and bigotry and all of these things. And so, because it was the druid that defeated the challenger was an elf, the challenging druid created a whole sect built around trying to eliminate the eliminate elves from the region, and then other demi-humans as well. And so just kind of went through, and because of that self-deception as a domain, he was able to convince himself, number one, that he could be a neutral evil, basically a neutral evil druid, and and then all of his followers and everything. So it just kind of evolved over the nearly 2 years time. We're around like 90 sessions now, and looking through that module and just looking at druids from a totally different perspective of how do I make these this character class truly challenging. And they're kick ass if you really take a look at them. I mean,
I would fear druids.
Yeah,
I really would.
Yeah, they're definitely a kick ass class.
And I always get upset when I hear people say something like, I don't like any of the classes from the core rulebook, they're too weak. And I'm thinking, have you played a druid? Have
Hmm.
you played a cleric? Have you
Yeah.
played a wizard? Have you seen their spells they get? Them those are the class
Hmm.
abilities they have. The abilities they have to learn new spells and cast new spells and be devastating within their realm are amazing.
Yeah. I'm gonna put this up there again if anyone wants to join in as well. So the yeah, so that Dark Druids module, I mean, some of those spells that they have, the those are awesome. I mean, I highly modified the adventure because I didn't want to run the risk of anybody having played it. Um, because my group is a very seasoned group, let's put it that way, and I have one TSR alumni in my game. So he worked back with TSR from 82 to 86. So he was so he knew these people, but I just wasn't sure if he would know the module right away. So I was like, let me change this up as much as I can, but still keep the general flavor of it. And it was awesome. Just an awesome. I think it took them about 6 weeks to go through that adventure,
Nice.
and they still
Very
have some
nice.
of the ramifications of it as well because it was, I
That's not an adventure that's open and shut. You
yeah.
might get through, you might kill all the bad guys, but
Hmm.
there's things that happen within 2 or 3 growing seasons after that adventure ends
Yeah.
that you still have to
Yes.
deal with.
Yeah. So that's what I did was I had I tied in I tied in some of B1, which was back, 85 weeks ago that they went through B1. And I tied some of the story that was from there into this one here because it has been like a continuous thread for them. And, and then projected forward some things that they're going to have to do. So, yeah, they already know that they're going to end up eventually having to face an ancient plague dragon. So now the party is 7 members, and it's got they're all from levels 8 through 9, pretty much on the verge of 9, and one hit 10. The thief hit 10th level.
Of course.
Um,
Of
yeah,
course the thing
yeah, yeah, and the druid, believe it or not, is not too far behind. Um, yeah, she's solidly ninth, and probably approaching 10. The paladin is ninth. He jumped, like he kind of leapfrogged because there was that one thing in that module that worked out like almost like a deck of many things kind of thing, or like that's how I built it around, and had to do with the book that they had to write their names in, and he actually got a full level for killing the next creature that he killed. So he leapfrogged right from like eighth to ninth, and like everybody's like, "Hey, how the hell that happened?" Um, so that worked out really well. Um, so let's see some of these things. Yeah, Circle of the Moon says otherwise. Yeah, there. I mean, I really did not have an appreciation for druids until I started running this campaign.
I had a guy in Decatur, Illinois that for 4 years I played with him. No, 3 years I played with John Wisniewski, the previous owner and proprietor of Beyond Hobbies and Games.
Hmm.
And he would pull out stuff from the first edition Arcanum book, the black book that was like Eldritch Wizardry.
Hmm.
And he would pull stuff out of there and he'd ask me if I'd allow herbs in my game. And he just played a first edition druid in a game that he was completely at home with his rules that he had to live by. He was completely content with the things he could do, and he ran the party. That's exactly what happened. He ran the party. Like he was the party leader. And I wasn't really upset about how it went because at first my campaign was all about let's slay evil, let's go kill the bad guys. And then after about 2 years, we were doing things that John wanted to try and explore, where like we're gonna go check out the first edition manual of the planes and Bruce, you read about 50 pages and come up with an adventure. Oh my God. Well, we go to another plane and the other party members are dying. The druid's just fine. The druid puts them in the portable hole and he tells the wizard before the wizard asphyxiates, he says, "We need to go back to our home. You guys aren't prepared. I thought you would be prepared, but you didn't take the herbs I told you to take."
Yeah.
But that was my introduction to being with a druid player in my early 20s. And I learned at that point that every edition since then, the druids have not really changed much.
Yeah.
And I stopped playing the game at 3.5 or Pathfinder, and that's, I don't know about 4th or 5th, okay, but I can tell you about before those editions, and they were a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're a lot of fun. Plus, the second highest level character in the group is that's Sparrow, run by Leah. And she's I mean, she's just a phenomenal role player, and I just love the way that she's playing her druid. And it's such an important part of the group, because it's not just that um she's not just another healer, like a a side
Yeah,
a side
she's
healer.
she's
I
not
mean,
a heal bot.
yeah, she's not a heal
It has
bot.
a purpose. It
Yeah,
has
there was already two clerics in the group. So there's two clerics in the group, a paladin and a druid, and luckily even the clerics were just both heal bots. They were, one would be more, he would heal after the fights. He would cast all of his spells after the fights, and during the fights, he was an elven cleric. So he's there slinging his bow the whole time, and functioning that way. Meanwhile, the other was kind of like the combat medic. He was just running to whoever needs it right then and there, kind of thing, self-sacrificing himself, taking hits if he had to, just to be able to reach somebody else, to give them a really quick heal, if necessary. And it's just been a lot of fun. So, the some of the discussions that I've been having with people about DMing in particular, and how do you run your games and how you doing these various things. And I came across this, so I will pop this up here and I'll share this screen here. And this came up a couple of days ago on Twitter, and it just made me crack up, because it's just such a crazy thing. And it was on Twitter, but I think it originally came from Reddit, which is even more of a cesspool of ridiculousness. So
you pop that up. I gotta go refill my drink real quick.
Sure,
Bring
sure.
my
Go.
base.
All right, so I'm going to throw this up here, but I do want to mention Earthbound Misfits 313. Hey, welcome. I don't recognize your name, so welcome if this is your first time and you DM'd a Swamp Druid 3.5 that had Barbarian Lizardmen and followers. Totally TPK'd the party. Fighting a druid in his own terrain is a bad idea for them. Yes, it is. AD&D druids were good, decent spells, and shape chains at 7th was awesome. And we have also never underestimated a druid in this home. Yeah, that's pretty much. So let me throw this one up here, and so now I'm sharing the screen. I don't know if everyone can see full screen. I'm going to shift this full screen so that I can see it better, because I have terrible eyesight. And I'm sure that you can. That's all it does. Okay. So this came up on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I responded to it in here initially, and I was just like, "Wow, this is really bizarre." So everyone in our party was first-time players, myself included, as a first-time DM. The party had walked into a room down a tavern to rest for the night, but before I could properly set the scene, one of my players, a Tabaxi rogue, That should be a warning sign right there. It said he wanted to seduce the barkeeper to give them free rooms for the night and rolled a 19 before I said anything. This player and his PC are gay, and I had planned for the barkeeper to be a half elf woman so I could figure out a proper voice. Uh, when I said she, the player asked me why I hadn't told him their gender, and I told him that they had interrupted me before I could say so. We finished the session, everyone went home happy, and then the person, I know you might not be able to see the
Take
see the
off the little
bottom.
dragon comment.
Yeah, that's what I got to do. I got to hide that. There we go.
Sorry, dragon.
All right, so then he said that, but later on that night, the player texted me saying that he thought I was an asshole. It was an asshole move, and am I? I don't quite understand that, but he basically texted him and said it was an asshole move, and then he's asking us the question, "Am I?" I mean, so many red flags in this right from the get go. Just from a DM's perspective, a player's rolling before you told them to.
That's the part in the first paragraph where I started thinking, I didn't exactly ask for that agency. Appreciate you.
Yeah. It's like, and then, basically just not waiting for the DM to finish setting up the scene. I mean, that's I mean, how are you going to know what your character is, going to do potentially before you even know what the situation is? And so it's just bad player activity here, and right from the get go and all the way through, following through, and then at the end, sending a text saying, it was an asshole move. No, he was the one acting out of turn, let's say, and so I responded. I was like, listen, and I fully expected to get booted off the thing because I was like, that's where gatekeeping comes in. I would have kicked the guy immediately, just for like he would not be back at the table again, and not just because he called the DM an asshole, but just the fact that this is the kind of player in my mind that would. This won't be the only incident where the player is toxic as hell. It's going to cause problems the whole way through.
On Reddit? Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me of this one time there was a guy that as soon as the party gets back in town, he rolls a die. Like he just rolls it and he's like, I rolled a natural 20. I steal the store from the town blind. What? We're in town, right? Well, I go to the general store and I just stole everything from him blind. God. Get out of my game.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean it's one thing to, like, after you've set up the scene, then the players are welcome to do whatever they want to attempt, and they'll face the either the consequences or gain the benefits of their actions, depending on how it turns out in the end. But yeah, so it was just something that prompted me. I was like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing pop up again. Then there was once again the orcs are evil thing or aren't all evil thing came up again. And I was like, oh, we're going to go through that now. I guess it's week 3 of the month or something, and that's an occurrence every
You're not
every month.
happy how 2022 ended. We got to repeat all the crap from
Yeah.
2022 first. Get all that drama redone. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's just it's too much. It's just something that hopefully with the fracturing of um, with the fracturing of like Wizards of the Coast and its tie, hold down, and people exploring more and more games, I think that this kind of thing will eventually fade out because it'll get so spread out there with so many different games running and so many different experiences that these players are going to have as they're running to various OSR or indie games. They're going to just start seeing a whole new play style and a whole new way that people are running their tables.
I would really hope that player, that rogue tabaxi guy, I really hope that guy finds a nice table of thirsty sword lesbians or coyote and crow,
Yeah, yeah,
something like
yeah.
that, where he can explore that sort of thing to people that really want to get involved with that, not bother the normal people. Okay, I mean, I used to, when I used to play online video games a lot more.
Hmm.
I hated on Fortnite because Fortnite was where all the 12-year-olds collected, and they would kind of ruin Fortnite. But
Right.
if you were bored and you want to ruin a 12-year-old's day, you go over there and with your keyboard and mouse skills and you frag them a couple times and they
Mm.
discuss the entire time. It's great. Um, but you can do that sort of thing if you want to indulge, and then you log off and like, I feel better. I just ruined a 12-year-old's day. I'm all right. But I just that player mentality that guy has,
Mm.
where he's wanting to hit on the barkeep until he sees she's got mammaries and a vajayjay.
Yeah.
That doesn't give me strong, like, let's explore everything. No, this guy just wants to have an echo chamber to walk
Mm.
around in. That's it.
Well, like I said,
Probably
yeah, it's not going to be the only incident. That
no.
guy was going to be a problem the whole way through.
And I really hope he does find a good table for
Hmm.
him. But man, do me a favor, throw a red flag at that table so we can see it from far away.
Yeah.
Hey, Shadow son.
Yeah, like Takato says here, and hey, what's up, Takato? The player needs a different group, absolutely. And if anyone wants to jump in, the link is up there, so
I
you
have a
can
link
jump in
here.
anytime. And let's see, Don, hello. Never roll unless your GM instructs you to. Absolutely, absolutely. And the DM has to ask for dice rolls. Gaming 101. Yeah, I mean, the person did say that like everybody at the table is new. So imagine even that, like you're coming to the table as a new player, and you're going to launch into this is what I'm, this is what I expect. This is what I'm doing, and it's kind of the arrogance of it, I guess.
I remember a meme that I read last year where this DM had the perfect campaign for like Frog God Games, and he's like, there's an evil necromancer that's building a force of evil that will attack all of civilization. And the players saw that plot line and they're like, nah, fuck that. And there was two people that were in the group that had their own agenda. We're gonna turn this world into a LBGTQ plus IA
Mm.
fantasy paradise. Really? And so the DM let them. And so they put all their ideas before City Hall, and they got, sodomy was legal. And then they started doing things to where they like were making it cool to like twerk in front of kids. If you
Mm.
got your fancy little librarian reading hour, drag queen story time costume on, you could do that too. And the players were leveling up and they were doing things because they were bards and they were very big influencers throughout the realm. About like eighth level. At eighth level, like they're like, oh my god, we're doing so much change, and the parish is following our city's dictum, and even the farmers are allowing us to teach their kids about our agenda and how it's okay to wear dresses if you've got a dick. And the next thing that happened was the necromancer came with a huge horde of dead bodies and spirits and angry specters, and he just TPK'd the world. He's like, you lose. You did nothing to bolster yourself for this. Have fun telling this at your therapy meeting, and never come to my table again. Thank you.
Yes, it's more reasons to run solo. It's like And how's it going, solo RPG guy? Yeah.
No problem.
Now, like talking about like toxic communities. I mean, I just yesterday, or maybe the day before, I don't. I just jumped right back into classic World of Warcraft, and just can't wait to get into the Barrens area and get that Barrens chat and see if the Barrens chat is the way it used to be back when the game first launched. And yeah, like very similar to like your Fortnite experience. Like people are very abrasive and aggressive and fooling around, a lot of fun in the group chat as well. But yeah, some people would just lose it. I mean, they just the couldn't hack some of the shenanigans, let's say, on just in chat. It was like, all right, close the chat window if you're so disturbed by it. But yeah, I've seen that in so many different games where people just want to they want to have their own experience, regardless of what anybody else is doing. And when you're at a much more intimate setting, as a table of just four or five, or even a larger table of like six or seven people, um, you can't hold the spotlight. I mean, it's got to be a cooperative experience for everybody. That way, everyone, I mean, you may not enjoy every moment of it, but but you're going to have more enjoyable time than unenjoyable time. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. I don't subscribe to the idea of, well, everyone has to have fun. Like everyone's going to have fun every moment of, the game session. That just doesn't work out that way. It's like, there's for some players, there might be a little bit of downtime and, or they might have run out of spells. And so now they're kind of feeling a little bit, well, there's not much I can do. And actually, one of my players that plays Magic User, he's about to pop on. Shadow and Sun is one of my players, and I'm sure he'll actually bring up that too. So yeah, so there's never a time that it's 100% everyone having a great time.
Yeah, that I had to educate one of my players about that about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
I'm not going to enjoy everything that happens at the table, but that's why it's called the player's or the hero's journey. That's all part of it. That's all part and parcel. You're going to have things that hang you up, and they
Mhm.
they make it very hard for you to want to progress further. I love that. You're telling me promoting nonsense is no defense against an army of the dead? I'm shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
I like this too. Or not play with weirdos. Yeah, just don't play with weirdos. Um, oh, you're not a weirdo. Shadow. Let's see. Too many people use the gaming niche as a way to promote something other than just playing the game. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, and when we get together at my table, it's you know we're not 100, like we're not in character 100% of the time, and doing all of that. We're kind of it's kind of a mix. It's like a hybrid of the two. It's like they act and function in character, but we'll every once in a while get a little banter going on as well. So hey, Shadow, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up?
How's
You
it
know,
going?
I was just thinking, about what you were saying. Not everybody's gonna, you know, have a good time. Well, I'm gonna disagree with that because I can't think of too many games that have had a bad time this last year. But it is like a team sport. Unless you're, the designated quarterback and it's all about you, you can't get anything done without the rest of the team. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You're all gonna get your time to shine. And I'm playing the wizard in your game, and you know, like you said, I run out of magic. I'm SOL. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's the part of the challenge. You know, saving
Yeah.
your stuff for the right moment, not blasting them all off. You know, at the first opportunity, and you know, then when you get to shine, you know, there've been a couple of times where, you know, I did some mega damage, so to speak, and
Right.
you know, it's worth the wait.
Yeah, you did get a really good hit during that during one of those fights. I think during the first fight, you know, with the orcs, you guys did a, you know, was it that fight or was it the no, it wasn't. It was the other one when you were fighting the archers up on the
Yeah,
up on the
yeah.
cliff. Yeah. And then you were about to get that other one and then someone kill stealed.
Yeah, like you know what?
Yeah.
I gotta save my stuff anyways, and
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing with playing a wizard. You know, in the beginning, you know, everybody's covering your ass because they know once you get to a
Yeah.
certain sweet spot, then it pays. You know, it pays off. It's worth it. You
Right.
know, I get a chance to not drop one of those cloud kills or something like that,
Yeah.
or you know, a 90 fireball right in the center of you know
Yeah.
something nasty. That's going to make up for some of those times where I had to, you know, hang out in the backfield.
Yes. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, I've the last time I played a magic user, he had a 17 dexterity. And so I was like, I'm taking Sling as my backup. And I mean, most of the time, especially when he was, you know, lower level, first and second level, he was slinging away. I mean, he was, you know, just absolutely awesome with the sling, just lucky rolls and always doing, you know, it was what D4 plus one. I mean, dishing out as much as he would with a magic missile. He
Yep.
just, you know, add as many sling bullets as he had, he could sling those things out there. A lot of times he was more comfortable with doing that than casting, you know, the one or two spells that he had. He always kept those in reserve for last ditch effort kind of thing. So yeah, so talking about our last game, so and just in DMing in general, because so my party, like I said, there's seven characters. They're you know, pretty good mix of characters, and they're all eighth and, you know, some ninth level, and they're taking on, and I'm not going to reveal too much because I got one of my players sitting here, but they're going into an orc lair, right? And so I'm sitting there. I was like, all right, so how do I take a group of characters that are, you know, that should be able to just steamroll over orcs like they're nothing and make that a challenge? And the thing is that when you're doing something like that, you have to think about it and say, well, the orcs themselves might not be a challenge, but the tactics that they're going to use, you're going into their lair, you know, and I think that's something that that DMs, particularly like inexperienced DMs, might not think about, or, you know, it hasn't been explained to them that, you know, you're going into even like a kobold lair or a goblin lair or something that's a real small, you know, a real small challenge individually, but you're going into their lair. I mean, it should turn out to be like a freaking meat grinder, you know? And that's the kind of thing that, you know, an experienced group is going to know, um, you know, when to push in and when to pull back out again. And my group did that exactly with that second fight. You guys, you know, had pulled back out because of some of the stuff that occurred during that fight. And I'll let Shadow, you know, fill in there if he wants to.
Shadow,
Nope,
you're muted.
you're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw that. No, you take it away, man. It's your show. I for the most part, I was like an observer. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
crap. You know, I need to save my stuff because I know once we, you know, get to a certain
Right.
point, you know, wasting a magic missile or two, you know, could really mean the difference. You know, I don't have to roll the hit. guaranteed between this and this much damage. That might be what it takes to save one of my friends' bacon.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with some of the rolls they get. Amalric.
Yeah. Who's unfortunately he's not here in the chat, but one of the events that actually took place that I think really, has the potential of being something that is a highlight for the next couple of sessions. The paladin in the group got shot in the eye with a critical hit, and it totally destroyed his eye. So he needs a restoration spell to fix his eye, and he's going to be, for the foreseeable, no pun intended, the foreseeable future of this entire adventure. He's going to be at -2 with just that one eye. And there's so much that I know that this player can do with that as well. But then I, as a DM, because they're going into an orc lair, they know that there's clerics there. It's going to be awful damn funny, if he comes across the cleric of Gruumsh with a carved out left eye, and here he is, a paladin with a carved out right eye, and I'm just anticipating that. And I'm sure that he will role play that out really well and see, because like I said, he doesn't have much of a choice, because it's going to be a while before they get to a 16th level cleric for a restoration spell. So it's going to be a lot of fun to do it, but that it goes to show you how even with a high level, or fairly high level party can be challenged by just the circumstances of, the dice rolls. And, that's the other reason why you always do dice rolls in view. That's, I think, super important to do as well, because then you're including that integrity of the session. I'd even say it's not just the integrity of the game, it's the integrity of the session.
It's a very important point. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying, like, I have players in my current game that sometimes they'll have a run of luck where I get questionable about their die rolls, but then they'll have like 2 or 3 sessions where like their dice eat 7s and less.
Yeah.
Like they just swing like that. Like you might have one session where they rolled 4 natural 20s throughout the whole day, and you're just going, what the hell? And then a couple sessions later, you rolled a 5, you rolled a 3. No, that's not going to help you get a 28 on your knowledge geography. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, that's how that session went with the paladin. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm sure the paladin was not having a fun time. He did 2 back-to-back fumbles. Unfortunately, he didn't have anything like really serious happen from the fumbles themselves. And then he got critted. He got critted like really the next round. Or after the second fumble, he got critted. And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "It must be your turn," because it kind of went like that. Amalric was the week before, with just the unlucky rolls and the bad occurrences that happened to him. So it does mix around quite a bit. Let's see. I see excellent solo RPG. So let's see what solo RPG wrote. Speaking of running out of spells, I had a PC smack creatures with the spell book. Yeah. Instead, yeah, because he ran out of spells. Shark. Hey, how's it going, Shark? Too many people use this game niche as a way to promote something other than just playing the game. So very true. That is what is wrong with all of the woke cultists. Yeah. And it's not just the, I wouldn't say it's just them. I think it's anyone that is coming into a game session, maybe for the first time, with an expectation that it's going to be like they saw on Critical Role, or it's just, from watching the movie or whatever, and they're they're just going to come in with just the wrong expectation, a misinformed expectation or a misleading expectation. And, when they get to the table, they're like, wow, this is not anywhere's like I thought it would be, and it was one of my criticisms of the movie was that the movie really did not, Honor Among Thieves um, did not really challenge the, the group, in any real way. I mean, you saw no injuries, you saw no real failing at anything that they attempted to do, and all the way up, to the end. And I'll spoil it, but one of the characters dies at the end for a total of, like, was it 30 seconds? And they're like, oh well, we'll just raise her back to life again. It was like, okay, it was like, it was there no time for it to even set in that a character died, and they immediately brought the character back again. And I was like, well, that was, you just took all of the climax out of that whole scene. And imagine watching that movie and then coming to a game table. You're not going to see anything like that. It's just, you're going to struggle. You're going to run out of spells. You're going to, get to the point where everyone is injured, and being like, hey, we got to back off and, and prepare to go back in again.
It pales in comparison to the Bridge of Khazad-dûm and the Death of Boromir. I mean, there's a reason why they filmed it the way they did, where you can't hear the voices, you can only hear the music and that illusion of silence that no word can pierce. Because it was so impactful in the movies. To try and compete with that is pretty rough. They just said, nah, not even going to try.
Yeah. It's a it's a shame that too many people learn about the game, by watching various things on without actually playing it out. Like, probably none of us here saw anything about Dungeons and Dragons until the first time it was sitting in front of us. I mean, that was certainly my experience. It was like my friend called me over and said, hey, I just got this game. Let's play it, and that was it. So I had like no idea of what, what it was. And we literally just started playing, and that was, I mean, he was, there was the first time he was DMing, it was the first time we were playing, and we just went for the next 10 years, just doing that. And, so I think that's the best way to bring new dungeon masters into the fold, is bringing them in, give them a fairly simple system. I think that, whether it's 5e or even Pathfinder 1 or 2, and you can correct me because you're much more versed in it than I am, Bruce. But I mean, I own the books. I've looked through the books, and I don't think that those are easy to be a complete tabletop role-playing virgin and jump right into it. Those are far too complex to be a good starter. And even the D&D, like the 5e starter boxes, even those are very complex.
Yeah, I'd go with one of the original old versions, whether it be the blue and white cover, basic, or BECMI, or even AD&D isn't really that complex for the players. Everything you need about your characters on one sheet, in the player's handbook. You just read that, and then skip past the section of spells. There's a bit of advice and how the game is played and that sort of thing. The whole book is 128 pages. I think that you can. If you're not playing a cleric, you skip the cleric and druid spells and the illusionist spells. and you're down to less than 100 pages of what you need to know. And even then, you could just read the first level spells of your profession, and you're pretty much ready to go.
Right.
Agreed.
Okay. So yeah, so those are the couple things that really came up over this past week and a half or so. Was that I saw that one thing on Twitter, and I was like, all right, that's kind of just a bad situation. I think unfortunate for the DM to have to deal with a player like that, considering everybody at the table was fairly new. And then the other thing with not necessarily just fudging dice, but to side with the player. To me, when you're saying that is or the rulings over the rules, or don't even get tied down by rulings or rules, just side with the player. And to me, it's like you're going to lose the integrity of the game and the game session if you're especially if the players realize that, hey, no matter what, I'm not really going to face any kind of a real consequence. No, it's like, it pains me when I roll a critical hit on you guys, and it's like, because I'm like, oh shit, this is something, I'm never hoping for, or when you guys roll a fumble, it's like, oh crap, let's see what's going to happen with this. And it's, it's a scary thing, even for me sitting there, even though it's not my character, but it's like, I'm rooting for you without slanting it for you, if that makes any sense, right? It's like, let's see.
It is a game after all. There, you have to understand that there are rules.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just throw all the rules out, because then you're not even playing a game. Then you're just telling a story. And at that point, why is any one person in charge anymore? You've got to play. You've got to at least agree upon the rules you're going to use and stick with them. You don't change the rules in the middle of Monopoly or chess or something like that. That's their time-honored traditions, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're playing a game. You've got to stick to the format, or you lose everything.
Right. Yes, O'Neill, I have that game too, and Tiny Dungeons or even Index Card RPG is a great, very easy system to play with as well. And like Shadow just said, it's important, I think, for the players to realize that this is that negative consequences can happen. Some in our group, some of the best stories that have come out of our group have been those negative things that have happened. What I'm saying? It's like, that's something, and those negative things that have happened have always become a story that took a few weeks to run their full course, and some of them still kind of linger on throughout. There was one event before Shadow got into the group. There was one, actually, you probably were with the group at that time when they put the first Dark Druid in the storage room because he was charmed or whatever, and they thought that he would be fine there, and they left him in a storage room, and then he just wandered off, and they got picked up by the rest of his own people. And then when he came out of it, I mean, he was so pissed off that it was like the negative consequences of either not keeping him with the group or not killing him off really did haunt them for easily 12 weeks. It's like easily 12 weeks. It went, actually, it was before you got there, Shadow.
I apologize, Bloodworth. I'm going to have to go. start.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Appreciate
All right,
that.
you have
Go
a good
ahead,
one.
Shadow.
Thanks
Come
for.
on in 7:30, bud.
Yep, thanks for
I'll be
jumping
there.
in.
I'll be there shortly.
Yep. Oh, you got to run too.
He's good.
Oh yeah, because you have your game, right?
No, I'm with Bruce on Table Breakers.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here too because we're coming up on an hour, and that's kind of where I was shooting for, was to shoot for about an hour for these impromptu live streams. And
That seems to be the new fad is keep it to an hour and then hit the road. Unfortunately, on my show, when we do these things, we run 2, sometimes even 3 hours, just because we're having so much fun. You know,
right. Yeah.
I totally get it. You know, not to mention if you're on StreamYard, you got to kind of budget your time.
Yeah. Well, I got it's one of my nights where I'm normally not streaming at all. So I've been looking for a night to stream, but I know a lot of people start streaming at 8 o'clock. So I was like,
Yeah.
let me grab that 1 hour slot between 7 and 8, and that'll be fine too. So I'm gonna keep on doing these and keep on inviting people to come in and share their DMing stories. And I know, O'Neill, you mentioned that you do mostly playing, and I'd love to have a player's perspective in there as well. You can talk about, if you're not afraid to talk about your DM. And some of the positives.
Year, that's all I've done. This whole
Yeah.
last year, I've been playing. I've only DM'd one game in the last year. I'm going to be DMing a game with Table Breakers next month. Actually, this month, technically, a game of Traveler. But I'm gonna keep trying to play as much as possible after 40 years of being a permanent DM.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a show on how nice it's been to be a player after all these years. Because if you get the chance, guys, get into a game as a player, and trust me, you will reap the benefits.
Yeah. Oh, I had a great time during the last convention I went to. Not this past weekend, the weekend before. I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, I played in some really great games, and and then the 2 games that I ran were really well. Went really well as well. And it was a great experience to play. Very, very good experience to play as a player, because as I've been DMing now for the better part of 4 years without having played at all. So it's been just one week after another for almost 4 years now of just DMing. So which I love. There's if you get into a bad game as a player, the best thing for you is to get right back to DMing again. At least that's how I look at it. It's like, because I had hit a few games where I was like, I really just don't like this. I think it was more system that I didn't like about it. It was, 5e. I played like 6 sessions of 5e with like 3 different DMs, and I just didn't like it. And but I think it was more the system than the DMs themselves. They were fairly decent as far as that's concerned. But it was just, I was like, nah, I'd rather just go back to DMing myself, and that's all I really needed was a couple of weeks break from DMing. So I'll let you run, and I'm going to wrap this up as well.
All right.
Ducato, I know you're on the road, so
take care, everybody. Have a great week and have a great weekend, guys.
Yep, you too. Definitely looking forward to seeing you. And Ducato, next week. Hopefully
Bye, guys.
You'll be available next week. I'd love to hear about your Castles and Crusades going on. And if I have a choice between DMing and playing, I will DM. Yeah, it's I'm definitely in that same boat, but not after for so long. I do like to break it up a little bit. Good night to Earthbound Misfit. Nice meeting you. And like I said, if this is not your first time, then keep on coming back, and I will see you as a regular. But nice to have you here if it was your first time. And O'Neill, as always, thanks for popping in. Rational Ginger, thanks for dropping in. Shark, I'm going to go down the road. Thanks, Solo RPG Guy. As always, Shadow and Sun and 28 millimeter. I'd love to hear about your game. Maybe next week if you can pop in and tell me how it's going with your. I think you're running Traveler. I'll have to catch you on Shoner and see how that's going. And I know Shoner said that he's working now. He would have popped in as well. Don, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. James, I missed you. Oh, you Druids were good, decent. Yep, good to see you, James. I know I put up your comment when you first put it there. Full Metal Dragon, thanks for dropping in. And let's go on. And that was everyone. All right. Great deal. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Have a great evening.